Secret Invasion Episode 3 Betrayal has aired on Disney Plus. I was late with my review last week, but this week I'm right on time. And we're going into uncharted territory because the first two episodes of Secret Invasion were released for some reviews about a week or two before the series actually premiered. But now, the people who saw those two episodes, presumably most of them have no idea where this show is going. And so that's where we're going now with episode 3. So the thing they establish at the beginning of the episode is, if you remember, the cliffhanger from last week was that Nick Fury's wife, or whatever, fiance, I guess is his wife, is a Skrull. Well, apparently he knew that she was a Skrull because in 1998, because they open up every episode, it seems, with a flashback to sometime in the 90s, in 1998, we actually see sort of him meeting her at this like diner, and that's kind of the beginning of their relationship. So we see a little bit of that in this episode. We also confirmed, and if I know it was hinted at in previous episodes, maybe I missed like the actual 100% confirmation, but it is confirmed that Talos' daughter is Gaia. I figured it out myself. I saw through the hints, I saw through the nuance, but it was actually confirmed here in this episode because they've been hinting in the previous episodes about how Talos is trying to sort of do his own thing behind Fury's back, trying to, not in a bad way, but sort of quell this Skrull rebellion. And we find out early in this episode that there's a much bigger, darker, more sinister plot underway. Even though it's a plot that's rooted in obvious, fear from the Skrulls being persecuted throughout most of their, their life, which is how they even ended up on Earth. We find out that the reason why they were harnessing these cells or whatever of these various superpowered entities like Gru and other characters is because Gravik's plan is to create a super Skrull, which was a storyline in the comics, obviously different. The super Skrulls were a thing in the comics, so he wants to basically empower a certain number of Skrulls to, I guess, better protect themselves, but also infiltrate world leaders and really the best way to explain it is to rule the world. To rule the world. I have this feeling that even though Gravik is obviously a villain, he is the main villain of this show, there's still a side to him, even though he's driven, there's still a side to him that isn't truly evil. You can sense that a lot of this is based on fear and insecurity. It kind of reminds me of how some of the villains from the Winter Soldier and Falcon show were sort of portrayed, where they're not all the way just psychos. He has a reason to do this, but he's very cold. There was a scene here where basically Talos and Gravik have this meeting, this at a restaurant or something, and he's trying to get this whole operation shut down because there's innocent human beings that are now being killed, and the Skrulls' purpose of coming to Earth was to hide among humans, to protect themselves, to protect their loved ones and other remaining Skrulls, not to hurt humans. What humans have done for them, although it is a very small number of humans that know about the Skrulls, is almost invaluable. And obviously, Talos knows that. Talos is obviously not comfortable at all with what Gravik's plan is, and he's trying to really preserve the life of Gaia. And, he's not a bad guy, but there is a bit of mistrust between him and Nick Fury. So the episode kind of becomes this buddy cop sort of adventure where what happens is Gravik's plan is to have this nuclear submarine fire a missile, I guess the missile, and destroy this United Nations plane. And that's the beginning of what would be World War III. They already teased it in the first couple of episodes that because of the events in Moscow, World War III is upon them. But nevertheless, he still is trying, even though Moscow didn't quite do the trick. This is his next plot. And what happens is it becomes this, again, I say buddy cop, but Fury and Talos find this guy named Bob who is a Skrull and try to get him to disarm these weapons and prevent this catastrophe from happening. So they have this standoff or whatever, and they end up, it ends up being okay. Like it doesn't happen, and then we have a couple of interesting twists to kind of round out the episode. The first one is that it appears like Gaia is shot by Gravik and killed. Now, again, like what I said in my review for episode 1, I was skeptical about Maria Hill dying, although episode 2 seemed to have really hammered it home. I'm still skeptical. Not because I think that there's much to do with the character of Gaia. I mean, if anything, Gaia dying is going to give Talos more motivation and more understanding of the kind of person that Gravik has become. That he's changed quite a bit. Like I said earlier, I still see some good in him, but that makes me lose that idea real quick. You understand what I'm saying? But so if it happened, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but I'm still skeptical because, like I said, you're not supposed to believe anything or trust anything in this show. Like, for all we know, every time I see Talos, I wonder if it's actually him or if it's another Skrull pretending to be him. I mean, there's just a lot of things going on. I don't even know if Gravik is really Gravik. Maybe the Gravik that I'm seeing good in is actually the actor sort of purposely being that way because there's another Gravik who isn't as bad, or maybe there's an evil Gravik that's another Skrull. You understand what I'm saying? Like, the show is supposed to do this. The show is supposed to mess with you. That's the point. That is the point. So, like I said, if anything, it's going to give Talos more motivation, even though I still think that's probably not going to... I don't think she's dead. I really don't. Or maybe he'll think she's dead, but she's actually okay. And then the other situation is the last part of the episode, we see Nick Fury's wife. She gets taken to this apparently secret facility or secret location. And it's almost implied here that she has some kind of deeper connection to Gravik, even though, again, that's still up in the air because there's a lot of mysteries in the show that haven't been resolved yet. But she gets a phone call. There's a little like a little sort of box, and there's a gun inside of it, cell phone, and the phone call is from War Machine, aka Rhodey, and he's got his own sort of agenda. Remember, he is a major player in these episodes. So, once again, it's in my head, I'm not going to try and guess what's going to happen. There may be spoilers out there, but I haven't really read up on them when it comes to this show. But there's a possibility that the Rhodey that we're seeing is another Skrull, and that it's somebody who's, once again, working, on the dark side of things for the wrong agenda. And maybe she's one of the ones that knows that he's a Skrull, one of the few that know he's a Skrull. Or perhaps it could be a situation where maybe he's not a Skrull, but he knows the president's a Skrull, but they haven't replaced him yet. Or maybe he's supposed to be the one to replace the president. There's a lot of... Like I said, there's a lot of unanswered questions, and when I'm watching this show, I'm always somewhat distracted inside my own head because I'm trying to figure it out, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Like, that's the point. Like I mentioned before, that's the point. You're supposed to watch this a little bit confused because it's supposed to confuse you, and in many ways, I'm probably going to go back, to be honest, if this ends up having a good ending, which I know a lot of these Disney Plus shows don't have, but if it does have a good ending, I'm probably going to go back and I'm probably going to rewatch it again and then kind of pick up on the clues whenever everything's revealed, if it even is revealed. We know that Fury's in the Marvels movie, so he's not going to die, but is that even really Fury? Who knows? Anyways, I liked the episode. It wasn't the most exciting thing. There was some good acting here from Ben Mendelsohn and Kingsley Benadir. Actually, Ben Mendelsohn kind of stole this, But we saw some Sam Jackson-isms in this one. This episode showed some strong performances more than anything, really plot heavy. Although there were a couple of big moments here and there. A lot of the acting kind of took the forefront. Anyways, that's it, y'all. Those are my thoughts. Take care. And I'll see you later on today for my review of Insidious 5.